Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special video, as today I genuinely believe that I have found the most perfectly balanced game. That's right, in the year 2024, game developers have finally done it. If you're a major studio working on a brand new game, just cancel it. There's no point releasing it, your game will never be as perfectly balanced as this one here. GTA 6, throw it in the bin. Civilization 7, just set it on fire, because here in front of us is our history Untold. This is a brand new 4X grand strategy game developed by Oxide and Xbox. If you've never heard of this game, I wouldn't be surprised, because the publishers in their infinite wisdom decided to basically not have any marketing spent on this game at all. I still cannot get over the fact that this game is being published by Xbox and is worked on by veteran Civ 4 developers, and yet there has been no advertising for this game at all. A handful of trailers here and there, but honestly I expect that for almost all of you watching this video, you had no idea this game even existed or had been released. And because of the lack of marketing, more people have played Mania, which is a game with a vastly smaller team of developers, and in comparison to this, a micro budget. Like, what are you doing, Xbox? Do you just want to hide this game away? I think like 10 hours after launch, there was only 15 reviews, and it was a perfectly balanced level of 50% mixed. That's just how perfectly balanced the developers have made this game. Nonetheless, this game is being touted as a Civ killer, which basically translates to, it's a strategy game where you have to end your turn and you have a tech tree. Is this going to kill Civilization? No. Is this going to rival Civilization 7? Definitely no. But it is a video game, so of course I had to play it. Now this game has just released and I am playing on the release build of the game. Many of you in the comment section might be saying, well Spiff, games don't release fixed anymore, everyone knows that, they're not balanced. But here's the thing, this game has had multiple alpha and beta tests, all with the intention of having them balance the game. So of course the developers have spent thousands of hours going through this game with a fine-tooth comb, creating a perfect experience, where no matter what civilization you pick, what techs you focus on, what kind of starting spawn you get, it doesn't matter, because you'll have as equal a chance to win as everyone else. That's true, perfect, grand strategy balance. And developers, if you're watching, pat yourselves on the back. If you're a viewer and you're watching, go into the comment section and tell the developers well done, because they've made a perfectly balanced game. Okay, no they haven't. Of course I'm kidding. This game is an absolute bloody nightmare. And I'm going to demonstrate it here for you today. This game is ever so slightly insane. It has launched with a ridiculous quantity of world leaders who vary in power from absolutely useless to horrifically game-breaking. Now, many of the developers of this game previously worked on Civilization 4, which is why all of the rulers have a selection of traits which they can share across rulers. For example, Leopold I of Birmingham is charismatic, and so is Eva Peron. However, all of them get one unique ability. For example, Alexander the Great is brilliant in combat. The only issue is combat in this game is terrible and should be avoided at all costs. This is not a grand strategy game that focuses on war. No, this is a grand strategy game that focuses on production supply chains, meaning by far the single most overpowered individual in the entire game is Benito Juarez of Mexico. Now, look, I don't often support conspiracy theories, but today I have something shocking to reveal. I believe the Mexican Tourism Board are paying Microsoft millions of dollars. What proof do I have? Well, there's no other way that I can explain why Mexico is the most overpowered civilization in the game. Benito here, for some reason, is given a perfect combination of overpowered modifiers that lets him run away with every game that he's in. You see, unlike other video games where production of buildings or science is king, instead in Ara the goal is to craft items inside of workshops and factories. These items are then consumed by almost everything in the game. Want to build a world wonder? Well, you're going to need to craft 10 ropes. Want your city to grow faster? Well then craft a bountiful feast of food. You probably get the picture. This supply chain logistics is exactly what makes Ara a special game that will of course be beloved by Germans for centuries to come. So in the world of balance, Mexico begins the game with a specialist. This is a special little dude that you can slot into buildings to boost their productivity by 150%. Every player can start getting these, but you're probably not going to until about turn 100. And when you do, Mexico gets a second one. This allows you to outpace every other player in the game. It's basically like starting with a second city. No, it's probably even better. On top of this overpowered crafting bonus, they also get another bonus to all crafting, because yes, as I say, this is 100% bribery from the Mexican tourism department. But of course, you've never seen a game of Aura played before, so I've created a scientific demonstration of just how balanced this is. I will now play 2 games simultaneously. I'll be making the same decisions, same actions, and we'll check in on the progress of a run as Greece and one as Big Daddy Benito 9000. This will not only showcase how brokenly busted the game is, but it will probably showcase the first time anyone has ever seen gameplay footage of Aura. So let's start with what a normal game looks like with Greece. So welcome into the game, ladies and gentlemen. If you're used to turn-based strategy games, you should be able to recognize this quite simply. We have various tiles around us with different yields. I have a scout unit that I can use to run around the map. I have a city which starts out plonked down on the ground and will grow in 12 turns. Now, the opening move that I'm always going to make is to build myself a second scout. This is the best way to play these strategy games because it allows you to harvest goodies that are scattered across the map. Anyway, I'm going to play my first 5 turns as both factions. So it's turn 5 as Alexander the Great, and our scout is still 2 turns away from production, although I will be spending some extra gold, meaning that on turn 6 we'll be getting our second scout. Most importantly, however, the opening move that you always want to hit is to get a feast as soon as possible. I'm spending extra food per turn and extra gold per turn in order to make this feast quickly. This is stacked up to a glorious 110 production per turn, meaning that on turn 7 I'll be able to get my feast. The reason I want this item is very simple. If my great half assembles this item, I can then slot it in as an amenity in my city, allowing my town to grow. As you can see, my city of Athenia is currently 8 turns away from expanding. Let's see how Mexico is doing. Welcome to turn 1 Mexico. It's basically the exact same. We have ourselves our city, our scout who we're going to send out to pillage these goodies. However, Mexico starts with an expert. Now, you might be asking, what does an expert do? Well, experts can be put inside of buildings to increase their production by 150%. So that means that our feast, which is going to take 39 turns, we can instead add an expert, spend the food and gold as we did in the other city. Oh dear, in just 4 turns we're going to be able to have our first feast. But these are just early days, so let's catch back up on turn 10. Welcome to turn 10 as Mexico. Our capital has grown to size 2, and we've managed to produce a second feast, meaning as soon as our first one expires, we'll be ready to slot in the second. With our city expanded, we're gathering even more resources, including barley. We've also managed to construct our first dwelling in our capital, which will boost the city's production along with its long-term growth. Let's see how the Greeks are doing. Welcome to turn 10 as the Greeks. We've managed to also research just one technology, however our settlement has only just unlocked the ability to expand, meaning we're 1 full turn of expansion behind the Mexicans. Now, whilst 1 turn behind might not sound like much, grand strategy games are all about snowballing. If you're able to get off to a good start, you're in the best position to continue to improve. If you have more yields, if you have more resources, if you have more growth, you will outpace everyone else in this game. And with Greece lacking itself an expert, it's just not able to grow quite as fast. You'll notice that even at city level 2, Greece doesn't get an expert in this city. In fact, they won't even at level 3. It's not until city tier 4 where Greece is actually going to be able to place down a specialist to double the output of this building. So let's check back in on turn 20. Oh, also, I haven't even finished the construction of my first dwelling. I will spend some extra gold to rush it along. However, it's frustrating that we're already so far behind. Okay, welcome back on turn 25. For Greece, we've managed to just construct our first settler. Our town is now up to size 3, and we'll get to size 4 on turn 45. We've managed to build our first farm, so we're now generating grain, and we've got a granary coming in 7 turns. I've gotten very lucky with the resource drops I've been given, and this has allowed me to put in some extra construction tools into my half, along with various events to give me upgrades like jewelry. But I wonder how the Mexicans are doing. Welcome to turn 25 as Mexico. We've been able to already get our second city down, and it's almost ready to grow. Our capital has just had a grain store added to it, meaning it gets a further plus 30 growth. This number of course hasn't updated, but it's looking like we're going to hit city tier 4 in approximately 10 turns, also known as twice as fast as Greece. Right, I've reached turn 101 as both empires. I've played both games near identically, and other than having different world spawns, I've attempted near identical production queues. However, we have some diverging statistics. When it comes to prestige, which is the overall score of this game and determines whether you get eliminated, Mexico has 1.6 thousand. Greece has 1.1 thousand. Now, I'm a good player, and 1.1 thousand is by no means bad. In fact, it's much better than the rest of the AI. However, 1.6 thousand is over double that of the average AI player, and it's only turn 100. The most important statistical divergences, however, are the fact that Mexico has 7 total cities, whereas Greece only has 6. The combined population of the Mexican Empire is 78,629, whereas it is just 54,000 for Greece. Mexico controls a total of 36 regions, Greece only has 28. However, the most damning statistic for how broken Mexico is just comes down to the fact that I, on turn 101, are currently in the Antiquity Age, researching algebra. Meanwhile, Greece is still stuck in the Iron Age. Bugger me sideways with a teabag, developers. This definitely doesn't seem very balanced. So yes, this game wins my award for certifiably perfectly balanced game. But it's not just the civs that are imbalanced. The entire foundation of this game is completely cooked in the balance department. Spawn locations are not created equally. Some empires from the offset are just completely and utterly screwed, and a large amount of this comes down to other broken aspects of the game design. In order to grow cities early, you need to construct feasts and grain stores, and you need to grow cities early to get more research and get more production and be able to expand faster. Everything comes down to growing cities, which in turn comes down to producing amenities. In order to make grain stores, you're going to actually need, you guessed it, grain. Grain only spawns randomly in grassland areas, meaning for poor Ethiopia over here, who spawned in a desert tundra, they had no access to grain, so their capital city is 3 levels behind my own. But the lack of access to grain stores affects all of their other subsequent cities. It affects their abilities to expand and gather resources, so their entire game is slowed down. In this game, if you spawn in and you're not next to a piece of corn, you should genuinely slam your head into your desk and Alt F4. If for some absurd reason you decide to stick with your game, good luck, you're certifiably insane. Because you need the grain. You need grain. Give me oats, brother. I crave the oats. But what's the other major problem with this game? Well, it's so bloody micro-intensive. This is going to be a divisive point for many people. For myself, I actually love this aspect. You might be saying, Spiff, then why are you ranting about it? Well, it's because games aren't just made for me. I think about 10% of people who play strategy games are going to enjoy this design. But the fact of the matter is, all of these resources on the map exist so that you can craft items. I harvest wood not so that I can build buildings, but so that I can go to a workshop and spend 2 timber per turn to accelerate the production of wheels. But why do I need to make wheels? Well, I need wheels because I then take those wheels over to this great half here and plop them in, and by doing so I get an extra 8 production per turn. I need food so that I can craft feasts faster. I need feasts so that I can grow my city faster. Now all of that seems quite manageable, but here's the problem. This game goes on forever. So yes, I start with some basic lithic tools, then I replace them with wheels, then I might replace them with metal tools or rope. After that, it's industrial tools and gears. But that's just one of the slots in my great half. No, there's also a section for candles and decorative vases. Oh, don't forget the drink section. Pop in some brewed coffee for extra research per turn. What a load of nonsense. And then eventually you can even slot in a computer. Wow, that's great, but how do I make a computer? Well, for a computer, you need a factory, and then in order to make a factory, you're going to need concrete and steel. Well, in order to make steel, you're going to need a forge and metallurgy. Don't forget about importing iron, metal ingots, and power, as well as fuel to accelerate the production speeds. I mean, even basic buildings that I've just constructed for myself, like this standard workshop, I click on it, I'm able to look at all of the things I'm eventually going to be able to construct in it. From basic tools to candles, I'll eventually be manufacturing clocks and eyeglasses. Oh, and who could forget the indoor stove? It's just madness. Every turn you spend in this game requires about 700 times more brain power than Civ. You have so many different spinning plates of production that unless you're completely hooked into the game and addicted, you're going to lose your mind, get lost, and then give up. So for yes, the 10% of people out there, you're going to love this game. This is going to be the greatest game you've ever played. But for basically everyone else, No, please do not touch this video game. Infinite complexity in video games is fantastic. I love it. I love Songs of 6, I love Dominion 6, heck I have thousands of hours in EU4. But this is the kind of game that would even give me migraines. And that's saying something. The next maddening design feature I want to talk about is of course combat. It is a terrible game, but that is because I'm playing on the hardest possible difficulty, meaning the AI is cheating like mad. It is statistically impossible for a player by now to have achieved 13 population in a city. Nonetheless, to demonstrate some combat, I'm going to declare war on Boudica here, with the goal of expanding. So there we go, next turn we're going to be at war. How exciting. So how does combat work? Well, basically I've moved all of my forces into this terrain here, and the enemy has moved in their own forces. They've got a wedge formation comprising of 2 spearmen and 1 archer. I have 2 archers and 1 swordsman. Each turn we will do the red amount of damage, and then the yellow amount of damage will be done the turn after. The expected outcome is that I will win in 4 turns. How exciting. But of course I can view the battle, so let's press the watch battle button, and this is what we get to see. Great, this is the battle. It's basically just like Endless Legend. You get a replay of what vaguely happened, and then you just get this. Great, that's the battle, and it's just gonna last a bunch of turns. From this point on, I can't do anything. I can't retreat or move my forces. There is nothing I can do with them. Now, there's a bunch of in-depth mechanics you can do with warfare, like putting your units in formation so they do extra damage, making sure to counter your opponent's units. But the problem is, the game is so poorly balanced that you are either ridiculously ahead of the AI on 90% of the difficulties, or if you're playing on the hardest difficulty setting, you are never going to survive against the AI. Because on this difficulty, I can only have up to 5 land forces at a time. That's right, there is a cap on the amount of troops I can have. Meanwhile, because the AI is able to cheat, they can have as many as they like. They've got 3 units here, they've got a further 3 units here, I know they've got at least 2 more armies down here, both consisting of 3 units. So yes, I have to somehow fight a war with less troops. That's brilliant. So whilst there is an in-depth and glorious battle and war system you can have in this game, everything else is so broken around it, you can't really do anything with it. So it's time to conclude my mad ramblings and get a vague verdict on this game. Is it one of the most perfectly balanced games I've ever played? Of course not. This is filled with so many insane balance choices that the late game is about as balanced as a house of cards in a hurricane. This does mean that for your first game, where you reach future technology and you're using giant death robots to stomp Neolithic tribespeople with spears, it can be rather entertaining. But it absolutely crushes your desire to play this game multiple times. There is some greatness here in the game though, in the way that you're physically crafting up an empire and using natural resources. However, the diplomacy is so bare bones, and the deals that the AI offers have seemingly nothing to do with your relationship meter. I've had empires call me friends, and then literally the next turn declare war on me. Combat is also a mess, too much fiddly complexity and not enough macro complexity. However, good luck finding a reason to do war, because your empire is always better off if you're at peace, and due to the limited city capacity, you'll find yourself often sitting around and waiting to conquer. Heck, incredibly wide empires like Mongolia or Greece have the same city capacity as Belgium. Belgium! That's Europe's favorite tiny speed bump. Ah dear, it's madness. So yes, in its current state, 10% of you will probably enjoy it, but everyone else will be losing their minds at the way this game has been designed. However, if this gets fixed, balanced, and streamlined into something fun, then Ara History Untold could become one of the turn-based strategy games of time. Yeah, which in my opinion is actually good enough. Yes, you're never going to be like Civilization 6 or Anno 1800, which are games that literally anyone can pick up and play, but still, that's good enough for me. You don't always have to appeal to a mass market, but when you are introducing some complexity into the video game world, make sure to make it fun and not just a tedious exercise in cock and ball torture. Anyway, that's enough for me today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed a video that's a little bit different, and developers, keep your chin up. You've evidently spent a lot of time on this, and I can see the passion you have for your video game. So keep up the hard work, tell Xbox to give you a bloody marketing budget, and have some fun with it. Anyway, I'll see each and every one of you in the next one. Have a lovely day, friends. A huge thank you to all of our lovely YouTube members and Patreons for funding this random video here. I'll see each and every one of you in the next one. Have a lovely day, and goodbye for now.